Hi, Paul here from Tools4D. I'd just like to show you the main features of the Tools4D Smrt link shader. First of all, the main thing is the manager. Basically, this just gives you a simplified list of materials and shaders in your scene. So if we open a typical scene from the release 14 library, and then we open the Tools4D Smrt shader list, you can see that you basically get a tree with materials, and in the materials are all the shaders listed. Okay, and if you want to sort these, you can basically highlight them with this filter at the top. So if I type in fresh, you can see that professional shaders are highlighted, and you've got this list, this column here, which tells you which channel a particular shader is in. When you click on a shader, you get a slightly enlarged preview of it, and then you can edit a shader by double clicking on it, and that brings it up in the attributes manager, or you can edit a shader in the material directly from the manager like this. There's a few options in there, just to fold everything and open stuff up. So let's try a slightly bigger material with more stuff in it. The cool thing about this is it also shows you where you've got dead bitmap links. So if I click on this, you can see immediately in this scene from the C4D library, there's actually broken stuff in there. So if I click on the material, you can see it's in the bump channel. The bump channel is actually disabled in this scene. So if I check that out, the actual bitmap reference there, IN27B, is not present in the library. So if you rendered with bump on, it would break. Okay, the scene wouldn't render. So that's kind of handy. If you've got like extended paths in there, you can use the resolve functions, which basically just removes the path file and makes it just a short name, so it'll look in one of your file folders for the bitmap. So let's just open up a few scenes and see what that kind of looks like with this editor. In this one again, lots of broken bitmaps, but luckily, these are disabled, so it won't affect the scene. But maybe you want to remove them, because pretty much all of these scenes, or lots of them, are. Okay, so let's take a look. Let's close this. That's basically how the manager works. You can drag stuff from there to there. It's just like a standard draggable shader list. So let's close this content manager and just make a really simple example of the Smrt link shader. So close everything, close all, and let's start with a new material. And in the material, we're going to add a checkerboard as an example. We'll stick the checkerboard in a layer shader. All right, and then let's make another new material. Let's make this a Smrt link shader. Okay, and normally this, if this is closed, you can either open that, you can dock this command and open it up there, or you can use the Smrt list button, and that just opens that up. And what you can do, you can either link from here, you could drag the layer in there, then it tells you that the parent, if you can see slightly underneath the Smrt shader link, it tells you the parent is the material. Right, so if I want to edit that material, I can just open this here, and you've got access to that particular channel. If I want to use if I want to link to a shader inside the layer, link that child, and then it will tell me that the parent is actually the layer shader, and it's in the color channel. And you can do stuff, you can add your parameters in here. So for example, if I added color, I could change that color to red and it would override it. Let's make a couple of simple objects. Okay, so the one on the left is the one that's holding the instance, the Smrt shader link, and the one on the right is the original. So if I go into my Smrt shader and disable, you see you've got this yellow dot here. If I disable the Smrt tags, you can see that the yellow dot is no longer visible. All that does, it just shows you which material, which shader is actually instanced and which is an original. So you can kind of tell the difference. You don't see that during rendering, except if you're in the demo. And then let's take a look at this this Smrt link. What that does, it tries to maintain the link. So if you change a shader, a referenced shader, like this checkerboard, the checkerboard is inside a layer. So if I wanted to change this to a from a checkerboard to a noise, you can see that the reference itself has reconnected, because actually when you change the shader type, you actually change the shader completely. You go from like a checker to a new shader, which is the noise shader, and these are two completely different nodes. But basically the deal is it keeps the link for you, and you can stick all kinds of stuff underneath a layer and lay it inside a layer, and you can connect the entire tree, so to say, with this link shade. And this basically, the idea of it is that you have like an original, like a source, and what you're doing is you're kind of referencing with the link shader the original source. So if the original source changes, all the referenced shaders would then automatically adapt, and you don't have to create the same instance of a shader every time you use it. And you can modify these perimeters. If you want to get rid of a perimeter, you just go into here and you just remove the entry. And let's say if I want to modify the noise. All I do is I go into noise, add noise, and then change this to whatever, gaseous. And that's basically creating a different channel. So all the settings are taken over from the original source, but the noise is different. And you can do that as many times as you like. You can animate these things. They are fully functional. So that's basically the Smrt Link shader. It's pretty simple. It's actually quite complicated to do, but it's pretty simple. And the main reason I did this was for my virtual room shader, because the room shader requires that you have the same shader in different channels, in transparency, in the normal channel and stuff like that. So it's really a pain in the ass to keep copying the one particular edited shader from channel to channel. So this actually makes that much easier for you by allowing you to effectively instance a single shader in different channels. And that's a short overview of the tools for the Smrt Link shader and a Smrt shader list. Right, thanks a lot for listening. Hope that wasn't too boring, and goodbye.